Hello everyone, welcome to free crash course for competitive exams held by VIRAT Hindustan Sangham in association with Manifest IAS. So this program is inspired by Dr. Subramania Swamy, and it was inaugurated on 28th of January. So you can watch this program online on the YouTube channel of VIRAT Hindustan Sangham. We have provided the link here, and also you can watch it on the YouTube channel of Udaya News Karnataka. Here is the link. So you can join our Telegram channel VHS Education Forum. Here is the link for the Telegram channel. This program is convened by Sri Ravishankar sir, who happens to be the State Education Convener for VHS Karnataka branch, and also President of Good Neighbors India NGO. Okay, so I am the chief mentor of your program. I have been training civil service aspirants for past 5 years. These are my credentials. Okay. So here is your timetable along with syllabus. So we have started with polity. Polity is completed. Now we are negotiating the history. Next comes the economy part, and we are going to end in the month of April with general science. So you can join our Telegram channel by scanning this QR code or by clicking this link. So you can just go on the Telegram, you can search VHS Education Forum. So what to expect out of these classes? Freshers can use this program to clear as a concept clearing classes, right? Whereas veterans, that is senior aspirants, can use it as a revision program. So it is benefiting all sections of aspirants basically. So today we are in the 7th session, day 7 of history. We are negotiating the history now. So yesterday we discussed future strategy. What is the future strategy after civil disobedience movement? Civil disobedience movement in the 1930 to 1932. After that, what was the future strategy in the national movement after civil disobedience movement? So we have discussed the first stage debate yesterday, and we also saw the Government of India Act. This I have already taught in the polity section, Government of India Act 1935. So I just gave the brief, I just briefed the provisions of the act. You can study it directly from your polity, Lakshmikant. And now we will evaluate the act. What was the benefits or the shortcomings of the act? Okay, so this act actually gave special responsibilities for the Governor General. Though it was an act for providing a responsible government or to provide a constitutional change for the Indians. Actually, it provided lot of responsibility to the Governor General. Not much power was given to Indians, right? So the governor in the provinces, that was at the center level, whereas in the states at the province level, the governor. So provinces were headed by governors. They also had special powers. Along with that, it gave voting power to 14% of Indians. This act gave voting power to 14%, which is actually less. Okay. So it extended the communal electorate. Earlier, 1909, Morley-Minto reforms, separate electorate was given for whom? Only the Muslim community, right? So later on, this act extends it to Sikh community, Anglo-Indian community, even to the women community, right? So even to the Marathas. So many sections get separate electorate. So this act provides for a rigid constitution, long-term British strategy. So after this act, so this is the evaluation of this act. Okay, yesterday I have discussed the provisions of the act. So next, what is the long-term British strategy? This was, so before we look into what is the national strategy of the Indians, what is the British strategy after the civil disobedience movement? So suppression. So suppression by hard power, use of military and armed forces and police. Thus, that was thought to be only a short-term tactic, right? It is not a long-term tactic. It cannot be used in the long term. So that was a short-term tactic. So British thought we should weaken the national movement from within. National movement has to be weakened. Not only suppression, we have to work in the internally, not only externally, also internally. Okay. So we sorry. So we should have the support. We should take the support of moderate sections. We should advance constitutional reforms. By this constitutional reforms, we should take the support of moderate section, moderate politicians who are soft, who have soft outlook, opposed to extremists, right? So so here first stage they say repression, second stage reforms. First we will repress the national movement, then we will give reforms. So this will convince them that violence is not the way. Violence is not the way. Rather, we should cooperate with the British. Nationalists will cooperate with the British. First repression, next reforms. This shows that British are good. So they want to co-opt or take the nationalists together by reforms, right? Okay. Next, once congressmen tasted power, they won't go back to sacrifice politics. By this act, many people get elected. So once they get elected, they won't go back to sacrifice politics. Sacrifice politics means sacrificing themselves or dedicating themselves to the service of nation. Once they get into the government, they won't go to the sacrifice politics. So these were certain long-term British strategy. British form a strategy to curb the national movement, right? Okay, next, nationalist response. So that was British response. What was the nationalist response? How did the Indians respond? Okay, for the 1935 Act, how did the Indians respond? So this act was actually completely rejected. All sections of the population, majorly the Congress rejects this act. They reject this act. Next, second stage debate. So first stage debate after CDM we saw yesterday. Now we will look into the second stage debate. Okay. So second stage, first stage immediately after CDM, second stage during 1937. After this 1935 Act comes into being, right? After it is enacted, right? Okay. In the 1937 provincial election, so in the 1937 provincial election, it was announced provincial assemblies. Provincial assemblies means what? State assemblies. So elections to the state assemblies was announced in 1937. Okay. So here the Congress forms a manifesto saying that we have to oppose the 1935 Act. 1935 Act is not good, so we have to oppose it and we have to campaign for the elections based on opposing the 1935 Act. Okay. So also there were many divided opinions. What are the divided opinions? Just like after NCM, non-cooperation movement, some people wanted to get into legislature. Some people did not want to get into legislature, focus on constructive work. Third section of population, that is your Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru, they wanted to continue the fight against the British, right? Okay. So Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose and Congress Socialist section, they opposed office acceptance. Office acceptance means getting into legislative assembly. This section, third section, opposed this. They didn't want the office acceptance. Rather, they wanted continuous struggle. They asked, why did you stop the civil disobedience movement? We have to continue the civil disobedience movement. Okay. So on the other hand, there were other section, the first section, they say we will get into the councils, we will get into the legislative assembly and oppose the British. How do we oppose the British in legislative assembly? Just like today, what happens in parliament? They create ruckus. Ruckus means fight in the parliament. They shout. Okay, that was another section. Next, these were the section who wanted office acceptance. Okay. Here, Gandhi's position. What did Gandhi? Whom did Gandhi support among these three sections? Whom did Gandhi support? Right. So actually, Gandhi would be not in favor of office acceptance. However, he wants to give it a try. He didn't want to oppose this section. Who want to get into legislative assembly, right? So Gandhi allows them to fight the election, right? So in a Faizapur session, 1936, a session of the Congress happens in Faizapur. They decide that we will fight the election on behalf of Congress. Congress will participate in the election, right? So elections were held to 11 provinces. Totally for 11 provinces, elections were held. Okay. So here 30 million people vote. 30 million people vote. 30 million people, how much it is? 3 crore people vote in the election. Okay. So Congress manifesto. What is Congress manifesto for the election? They say this, their first manifesto is, we will oppose the 1935 Act. That is the first manifesto. Second manifesto is, we are not going to support the British rule. We will oppose in and out. This is the second manifesto. Congress performance. How does Congress perform in this election? Alli chanagi perform ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ilva. Actually, Congress wins 716 seats. 716 seats out of 1161 seats, or more than 50% of seats Congress wins, right? Okay. Congress rule in provinces. So Congress 1937 provincial election. So please remember, it is not central election, only to the provinces. Provinces means today's states, right? Okay. So in the provincial election, Congress wins 731 seats, 700 odd seats in the 1937 election. Okay, in the 1937 election. Okay. So Gandhi's advice. What do Gandhi advise to the congressmen who get elected in the provinces? So Gandhiji says, you should hold the office lightly, not tightly. That means you don't get sucked into the power politics. Don't get sucked into British politics. Rather, you just use it for nationalist struggle. This was Gandhi's advice. Work under Congress ministries. During the Congress ministry, what was the work? What work did they do? Okay. So once the Congress ministry gets elected, actually people feel very happy. Indian public, Indian public feel lot happier. Their energy, whatever the energy that was suppressed by the British, that gets released automatically. They feel lot happier. Okay. And it increases the prestige of the Congress. Congress prestige gets increased, right? Okay. So, what were the work they did? Civil liberties. Civil liberties means Nagarika Hakkugalu. Okay. So, emergency powers. Emergency powers, the British, which the British had, they were repealed. Emergency powers were repealed. Under emergency powers, civil liberties were taken off. That emergency powers were repealed. Ban on organizations. Some organization, Hindustan Seva Dal, some organizations would be banned by the British during the CDM. That ban was revoked. Next, press restrictions were lifted. There were a lot of restrictions on the press. Those restrictions were lifted, right? Some newspapers were listed in blacklist. Those newspapers were taken out of blacklist, right? And also police powers. Police powers were reduced. Police initially had lot of powers. Those powers were reduced. Okay. So these were some of the civil liberty works which the Congress ministry did, right? Next, agrarian reforms. Agrarian reforms means land and agricultural reforms carried out by the carried out by the Congress ministries. So what are the land and agrarian reforms? So they actually wanted to abolish zamindari. However, they wanted to abolish zamindari. You all know what do you mean by zamindari, right? So they wanted to abolish zamindari, but it was not possible because they did not have sufficient powers. Sorry. The Congress did not have sufficient powers. Congress ministers did not have sufficient powers. Next, they did not have financial resources. If any reform has to be carried out, there should be proper financial resources. However, the Congress ministries did not have financial resources. Why? Financial resources was handled by British. They had to give the ministries financial resources, that was not given. And also the Congress government, there was actually war clouds. So before the reform started, by 1937 they formed the government. 1939 there will be World War II, right? So there were World War II. Next, agrarian structure was complex. That is, Indian agriculture field was complex. So there was lot of difficulties to reform the agriculture. The land was fragmented. Land was fragmented. Fragmentation of land means small chunks. Land was owned by small farmers. And also there was zamindari. Zamindari was there. And also there was drought. That is no sufficient water for cultivation. So many problems were there in agriculture which was not possible to be solved in a short period. Next, attitude towards labor. Another section is labor section. These labor workers working in the industry, right? Okay, the Congress ministry advocated industrial peace. Industrial peace means no strikes to be carried out, right? So they sought to propagate conciliation. If there is any issue between the owners as well as the workers, they have to concile. They have to talk to themselves and resolve the issues. That was advocated by the Congress ministry. Okay. So here to talk between the owners and well as the laborers, this Congress ministry acted as a mediator. They acted as mediator to solve the issues. However, there were lot of issues also here in the attitude towards labor. There were some positives I told till now, some negatives were also there. What were the negatives, right? So at some time this Congress ministry imposed section 144. What is section 144? Curfew. So imposed curfew against the workers, that was imposed, and also certain labor leaders were arrested. Right. Next, social welfare reforms, ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆ. ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ ರವರು ಏನ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು? ಕಾಂಗ್ರೆಸ್ 1937 ಮಿನಿಸ್ಟ್ರಿ ಸಾಮಾಜಿಕ ಬದಲಾವಣೆಗೆ ಏನು ಕೊಡುಗೆಯನ್ನ ಕೊಡ್ತು? ಸೊ prohibition, in some places alcohol was banned. Next, welfare of Harijans, SCs, STs, Dalits, their welfare was taken care of. Next, education, they propagated proper education to all sections of the population. They popularized Khadi. They worked against the foreign cloth and popularized Khadi, right? And they launched mass literary campaigns. That is, lot of educational activities was carried out by the Congress ministry, right? So evaluation of the Congress, this ministry, this Congress rule in 1937 is called as 20 months rule. 20 months rule, because they totally rule for 20 months before resigning at the start of World War II, right? Okay. Evaluation, there were lot of positives as well as negatives. So the positives were, the congressmen, some of them got corrupted. They got corrupted and got stuck to the seat. That was the, so sorry, it is 28-month rule, not 20-month. So I confused it with Karnataka BJP government rule, 20-month rule. So it is actually 28-month rule. Next, so that was one negative. So it also had a positive, that so it gave a picture to Indians that if any substantial transformation has to take place, Indian government has to come. No substantial reform would be carried out by the British, under the British. So here another positive is the morale of bureaucracy came down. The prestige, the power of bureaucracy came down. Bureaucracy, your IAS and IPS. Okay. Next, they were able to control communal riots. There would be lot of communal riots which the ministries would be able to control, right? So these were some of the positives of the Congress rule in the 28-month rule, right? Okay. So some other legislative actions, what do? They bring in Bombay Trade Disputes Act for the traders, for the labor workers in the Bombay mills, cotton mills, and also Bombay industry. They bring in this Bombay Trade Disputes Act that was started. Okay. So after this, what was the Muslim League stand against this provincial rule? Actually, Muslim League wanted to share power with the Congress in the 28-month rule. However, Congress does not share power with Muslim League. So Muslim League forms a committee. Say it gets angered, it forms a committee against the Congress ministry. That committee name is Pirpur Committee. Pirpur Committee in 1938. The committee name is very important from your prelims perspective. Pirpur Committee, PIRPUR Committee, 1938. Okay. Next, we'll talk about nationalist response in the wake of World War II. So World War II starts in 1939 between Axis and Allied powers. Axis powers we have Japan, Germany, Italy, all those powers, right? So allied powers, US, UK, France, rest of the powers. Okay. So the World War II starts. So Congress crisis on methods of struggle. So here what happens, should we start a struggle now? So World War II has begun. British is in crisis, British people are in crisis, British government is in crisis, British soldiers are engaged. Should India start a struggle against the British now? Actually, okay, so Gandhiji says that we should not start a struggle now. We should not start a struggle now because Congress organization is not yet ready. Congress is actually weak. There will be lot of corruption within Congress, lot of indiscipline, lot of unethical practices within the Congress. So Gandhiji says we should not start a struggle now. Next, Haripura and Tripuri session. So these two sessions are important because these two sessions were, who was the president? It was Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose was the president. Okay, so Subhash Chandra Bose, a brief about him. He actually, after the Nehru report, he says that he opposes the Nehru report. Why does he oppose the Nehru report? Because Nehru report asks for dominion status, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose and Jawaharlal Nehru want complete independence. So complete independence. Okay, he also participates in the salt satyagraha movement. However, when the civil disobedience movement is suspended, he actually opposes it. He says that this is a step back. This is a failure on Indian politicians that we stopped the civil disobedience movement, right? So he actually also opposes signing of Gandhi-Irwin Pact. Gandhi-Irwin Pact before second roundtable conference, also called as Delhi Pact. So he opposes, who? Subhash Chandra Bose opposes signing of Delhi Pact as well. Haripura, what is this? Haripura, it is a place in Gujarat. It is a place in Gujarat where actually Subhash Chandra Bose becomes the president of Congress. He becomes the president of Congress. So he sets up National Planning Committee. So National Planning Committee was set up during Haripura session. Haripura session by Subhash Chandra Bose, who heads the National Planning Committee, headed by Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, so here once a resolution gets adopted, till now actually in the princely states, there are two types of states in the India. One is British province, another is princely state. British province, princely state. In princely state, actually the Congress would have not have interfered. They would not interfere in the princely states. However, here they adopt a resolution that even in princely states we will start the nationalist struggle. That is independence struggle. We can start in the even in the princely state. Okay, so so here what happens? Subhash Chandra Bose again at the Tripura session, he stands for election again for election for the post of Congress president. Again he stands for the election. He would be the president in Haripura session. He wants to be president of Congress again in Tripura session. However, Gandhiji doesn't want Subhash Chandra Bose to be president because Gandhi's ideology is completely different. So Gandhiji is a peace-loving person, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose is a man of action. He says that give me blood, I will give you freedom. It shows that he supports violence against the British, right? So here after becoming the president, he makes a statement saying that Congress is a new Congress. It represents new ideas and ideologies. However, the Congress Working Committee says that there will be president. President is one post. Next is Congress Working Committee. So here this Congress Working Committee says you are not supposed to talk about the ideologies. It is the work of the Congress Working Committee. So a rift or a fight takes place between President and Congress Working Committee. Okay. So in the Tripuri session, what happens? Actually, there will be a crisis within the Congress. What is the crisis? One is that there will be Bose section, another is Gandhi section. So there will be internal fight between the Congress between the two sections. So what happens is so this Subhash Chandra Bose wants to start an immediate struggle against the British since the Second World War has already started. Subhash Chandra Bose wants to start an immediate struggle against the British, and he asks the Mahatma Gandhiji to lead the struggle. You lead the struggle and we will start the struggle against the British immediately. This was said by Subhash Chandra Bose. So he says that British is in crisis. They are in war. We should use this golden opportunity because British is already weak. So we should use this weak moment and fight the British. This was told by Subhash Chandra Bose, right? Okay. So what happens? So Gandhiji says that we are not going to start the immediate struggle because Congress is not yet ready, and also international politics. British is actually fighting evil power. German fascism is a evil power. So British is actually right. They are correct in fighting the evil fascist power. So we are not going to trouble the British now. So we are not going to start the struggle. This was told by Mahatma Gandhiji. Okay. So because of this, there will be lot of internal strife, and Subhash Chandra Bose resigns. He resigns from the presidentship, and he starts the All India Forward Bloc. All India Forward Bloc started by whom? Started by Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay, this was started in 1939. Okay, so afterwards he gives a call for All India struggle. So the Subhash Chandra Bose gives a call that we are going to immediately start a All India struggle after he forms the All India Forward Bloc. He gives this call. So, but once he gives this call, Congress gets angry, saying that you are going against the Congress, and what happens? He would be suspended from Congress. Okay. So Gandhiji and Bose, ideological differences. Okay. So one person, Gandhiji, is a votary of non-violence, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose advocated militant approach or a violent approach, right? However, Gandhiji had lot of respect for Subhash Chandra Bose. Means Gandhiji called him prince among the patriots. Prince andre ದೇಶಭಕ್ತರಲ್ಲೇ ಅವನು ರಾಜ, ದೇಶಭಕ್ತರಿಗೆ ರಾಜನಂತಿದ್ದಾನೆ ಅಂತ Gandhiji tells about Subhash Chandra Bose. And whereas Subhash Chandra Bose tells Gandhiji is the father of nation. Who tells Gandhiji as the father of nation? It is the Subhash Chandra Bose who tells that Gandhiji is the father of our nation. Okay, he also calls him the greatest man of India. Means and ends. So Gandhiji emphasized on means. Means means what? So we do good work, good results will come. So whereas Subhash Chandra Bose emphasized on ends. Ends means we will no matter whether we do good work or bad work, if the ends, that is, if the results are good, then we need not worry about the means. This is what said by Subhash Chandra Bose. Form of government. So Gandhiji advocated a stateless society, that is, there should be no government. He advocates a stateless society, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose advocates a democratic form of government. He advocates, just like Jawaharlal Nehru, he advocates a social democracy. Social, so because he had socialist leanings, he advocates a social democracy. What do you mean by social democracy? Democracy means Prajaprabhutva, by the people, of the people, for the people. Okay, and socialist means which all the resources of the country are used for the benefit of all. That is what is meant by socialist democracy. Okay. So here Subhash Chandra Bose advocates Samyavada. Samyavada, very important. What do you mean by Samyavada? So he says that we should take good elements from everywhere. We should take good elements from fascism. Fascism as a good element of discipline. We should take good elements from socialism, even from democracy, and we should mix it and implement. This is called as Samyavada. Samyavada. Okay. So with respect to militarism, so Gandhiji was against any form of military. Gandhiji was against any form of military, whereas Subhash Chandra Bose advocated militarism. He advocated militarism. Okay. With respect to women, so Gandhiji thought with respect to women we'll talk later. Okay. So what happens? Gandhiji actually advocates Hind Swaraj, that is Rama Rajya. Rama Rajya was advocated by Gandhiji against democratical form of government by whom? By Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. Next, militarism, I already spoke. Ideas on economy. Economy. So Gandhiji advocated decentralized economy. Decentralized economy means village economy. Gandhiji advocated village level economy. Village level economy. Whereas Subhash Chandra Bose advocated what? So he advocated a centralized economy. Centralized economy. So large scale industrialization. Just like Jawaharlal Nehru, Subhash Chandra Bose advocated large scale industrialization. Large scale industrialization. So Gandhiji, with respect to economy, advocated Sarvodaya, that is welfare of all. That is the difference with respect to economy. Okay. Next, religion. Religion. With respect to religion, Gandhiji was a strongly religious person. He advocated politics and religion. Both of them are equal. Subhash Chandra Bose actually believed in the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and the teachings of Vivekananda. Subhash Chandra Bose believed in the Bhagavad Gita, Upanishads and the teachings of Vivekananda. Caste and untouchability. So caste, actually Gandhiji says there is nothing wrong in caste, whereas untouchability has to be stopped. Untouchability has to be stopped. Whereas Subhash Chandra Bose says that caste should be abolished. Caste is not a good organization. We should abolish caste system. Okay. So next, with respect to women, Subhash Chandra Bose says women, actually he gives a Gandhiji gives a very traditional view of women. So he sees ideal woman as something like Sita. So women should be like Sita. They should sacrifice their life for their husbands. Whereas Subhash Chandra Bose sees a picture of strong woman. That is why he creates this Jhansi Rani Lakshmi Bai Brigade. Lakshmi Bai Brigade, Jhansi Regiment in his Indian National Army. He sets up an army called Indian National Army. There he starts Jhansi Rani Regiment. Jhansi Regiment. With respect to education, what are the views? So, Subhash Chandra Bose advocated what? Modern education, whereas Gandhiji advocated indigenous education. So, Subhash Chandra Bose actually was in favor of English education, whereas Gandhiji's education views can be seen in his Varda scheme of education, that is education based on manual labor and practical learning. So these are the differences between Subhash Chandra Bose and Gandhiji. Okay, next we will talk about Second World War and nationalist response. Second World War and nationalist response. Okay. So once the Second World War starts, Congress gives a offer to Viceroy. Congress themselves gives a offer to Viceroy. What is the offer? So Congress says, we are going to support you in war. In World War II, Congress, that is India, will support you in the war, but based on some two conditions. If you allow us two conditions, we are going to support you. What are the two conditions? So there should be a constitutional assembly. You should start a constitutional assembly once the war ends. That is the first condition. Immediately you should, after war, constitutional assembly, immediately you should give interim government. Interim government. Government you should give immediately, constitutional assembly once the war ends. However, British reject this proposal. So immediately CWC meeting at Wardha. Congress Working Committee starts meeting at Wardha, where there will be an ashram of Gandhiji. So here there are multiple views. Gandhiji actually says that we should not start a struggle because it will embarrass the British. British are already in trouble and they are fighting for a good cause. So we should not harm them now. We should not start a struggle now. Whereas socialists and Subhash Chandra Bose says that we should start a struggle now because British are in trouble. We should start a struggle now and take power from them, snatch power from them, right? Next, Jawaharlal Nehru. What does Jawaharlal Nehru says? He does not agree with neither Gandhiji nor the Subhash Chandra Bose. So he says that he actually gives a detailed explanation about war, saying that these people are fighting for their own interest. They are not fighting for democracy. So neither we should support them nor we should start a struggle. Okay. So here CWC, Congress Working Committee, gives a resolution. What is that resolution? So India says that, CWC says that India cannot be a part of war. We cannot take part in the World War II. That is one thing. Next, if British are fighting for democracy, as they say it, so British say that we are fighting for democracy. If they are really fighting for democracy, give democracy to us first. That is, give democracy in India first, then you go and fight for democracy. This is what is said by CWC resolution, Congress Working Committee resolution. Next, government attitude and the Congress ministry's resignation. So what happens? So government actually, the Viceroy will be Lilith Go. So one more thing you should even importantly remember, under which Viceroy what happened, under which Viceroy what important act or what important event took place. It is given in the last pages of your spectrum. There you can, spectrum book, you can go and look there. So government attitude. Government says that we are just resisting aggression. So Congress demands that you give us war aim. War aim means what is the aim of your war? Why are you fighting a war? So British, however, say that we are just resisting aggression. That is the only word they use. So they actually say we will set up a consultative committee. We are not going to give you interim government or your constitutional assembly. So what happens immediately? So why did the government say like this? They wanted Congress to start a struggle. Once the Congress starts a struggle with the, so anyhow world war is there, world war is happening. So immediately they will, since if the Congress starts a struggle using the reason of world war, immediately they are going to launch a repression. They are going to enact a Defense of India Act. Immediately they will enact and make the repression and repress the Congress and its comrades. They will repress them. So it is a clever strategy by the government. This is the government agenda. If Congress starts a struggle now, we are going to repress them, taking the reason of world war. Okay, so here what happens? Congress ministries resign immediately after this. So immediately after the government statements, Congress ministries after 28 months of rule, they will resign. They resign from the, they step down. They step down from the government. Okay. So what happens? The Congress doesn't want to launch a war now. They doesn't launch a struggle now. So what does the Congress do now? Okay, now so the Congress says that Allies causes are just, that is British cause is just, that is they are fighting a war for good cause. So if we start a war, if we start a struggle now, already communal incidents are high, that is Hindu-Muslim riots are high, immediately there will be struggle, immediately there will be fight between the Hindus and Muslims. So we are not going to launch a struggle now. And also masses are not ready, people are not ready, and Congress organization is also not ready. So here what happens in 1940, Viceroy makes a statement. Viceroy Lilithgow makes a statement saying that dominion status is the goal of British. British are going to give dominion status to Indians. I have already discussed what is dominion status earlier, right? Okay, so what happens? So here Gandhiji takes over. And he starts individual satyagraha. So here, here they actually within the Congress there will be lot of fight. Some section want to support the British. Some section want to launch a struggle against the British. Some section want to keep quiet. Okay. So here what happens? There will be session in Congress. Congress meets in Allahabad and says that this British cannot be trusted. We have to launch a struggle against the British. However, they leave it to Gandhiji. When and where Gandhiji wants to start a struggle, we are going to start. So the entire decision making is left to Gandhiji. Okay. So what happens in the meantime? 1940, one more event takes place. Pakistan resolution is passed. That is Pakistan. We want a separate Pakistan, separate country. The resolution was passed by Muslim League in 1940. The date is important. Okay. Next, after this, August offer is given. So August of 1940. Why do they offer in August? So because what happens, Hitler would be successful in the initial phase. Hitler would be amazingly successful. Okay. So here when Hitler is successful, and British were facing defeat. British were initially facing defeat. So what happens? So when they were facing defeat, they wanted India's support. When they were facing defeat against the Germany, they want India's support. That is why they give this offer, also called as August Offer 1940. Okay, so here what is the August Offer? They are going to repeat the same thing. We will give you dominion status. Dominion status. Then we will expand the Viceroy Executive Council. So there will be Viceroy, right? Viceroy will have a council. Viceroy, he will have a council. Council today, just like today's Council of Ministers, Central Ministers. Okay, so in that we will put lot more Indians. So that is said by the British. And we are going to set up a constitutional assembly as well. We are going to set up a constitutional assembly as well after the war. These three promises were made by the British in the August Offer. Okay, what are the responses? So Indian National Congress reject the offer. Reject the offer. So what is the Muslim League? Muslim League welcomes the offer, because here in August Offer they say that whatever the decision are made, it would be subject to the consent of minorities, consent of Muslim League. So Muslim League rejects the offer. Okay. Next, evaluation of the act. Evaluation of the act. What is the evaluation? So evaluation of the August Offer. Okay. So here for the first time they openly say that Indians can frame their own constitution. For the first time they say that Indians can frame their own constitution. So here next starts after August Offer. The sequence is important. After August Offer, Gandhiji starts individual satyagraha. Individual satyagraha. Right? What is this individual satyagraha? So, in order to launch a all India struggle against the British, they first start a individual satyagraha. So, Gandhiji will choose certain persons and ask those people to start a satyagraha individually, not overall. Individually, those people will start satyagraha. So, what are the aims of this satyagraha? So, it shows that it shows that India's position. So, India's position against the British. It shows that Indians are not okay with the British. That is why individual satyagraha. It shows the opposition of Indians to British. Okay. So, what will this individual satyagraha do? So, they are going to, individual satyagrahi says that they are going to make a speech against the war. They are going to make a speech against the war wherever they go. So, since they make a speech against the war under Defense of India rules, they would be arrested. They would be arrested. So, if they are not arrested, they all will go towards Delhi, and that is called Delhi Chalo movement. They are going to start a Delhi Chalo movement under individual satyagraha. Gandhiji designates Nehru as his successor. So, after Gandhiji, who will be Gandhiji's successor? So, here what happens? Japan. So, if India is here, Japan starts attacking India from the east. From the east, Japan starts attacking India. So, what happens then? Immediately, Congress working committee actually goes to the government and says that we are going to support you. We are going to support you only if you give us freedom, complete freedom after the war. If you give us complete freedom after the war, and also substantiate power is transferred immediately. One is complete freedom and immediately some power is given to us. However, Nehru and Gandhiji doesn't support this CWC. They say that don't go and ask the government for this, because already we have launched the individual satyagraha. If you go and request the government now asking for support, they will actually, it will not look good. It will show the compromise of our position. So what happens? So what happens? So here when Nehru and Gandhiji doesn't support CWC, Gandhiji realizes that only Nehru is able to lead India from now on. So he designates only at this position. So Gandhiji designates Nehru as its successor when Japan invades India. When Japan invades India, that is the time the Nehru gets appointed as successor of Gandhiji. Okay, next, Crips mission. Crips mission. So Stafford Cripps is a member of British cabinet. He is a member of British cabinet, right? Okay. Why Cripps mission was sent? Why did British send Cripps mission? Because Britain would be suffering a lot of losses in the war. Britain would be suffering a lot of reverses. They would be getting defeated by the Germans, and also there was a threat of Japan invading India. Japan was about to invade India. That is why they sent Cripps mission to India, and also ally power. USA, Russia and China pressurized the British. USA, China and Russia pressurized the British, saying that you should seek the Congress cooperation. You should seek Congress cooperation. Okay. Next, so because of this, so Cripps mission was sent. What are the main proposals? Main proposals of the Cripps mission. So he is going to repeat the same thing as August Offer, saying that we are going to form a dominion status. We are going to give a dominion status to India. And next, second statement, similar to the first August Offer, we are going to give a constitutional assembly. We will give a constitutional assembly after the war ends. And the third statement he makes is, any province not willing to join, that is province, British provinces, it may be Bombay province, Bengal province, Madras province, UP province, any province which doesn't want to join, or even princely states, if it doesn't want to join the Indian Union, they can remain separate. They can form their own constitution. Okay, so this is the point. Third point of Cripps mission is the point which advocates what? Which advocates partition. Which advocates partition. Okay. So, what is the difference? What is the difference from the August Offer? August Offer, what is the difference? So here, Constitutional Assembly was actually explicitly, that is, earlier they said Constitutional Assembly would be formed. Now they say Indians will form the Constitutional Assembly themselves. That is the first change in Cripps mission. Indians are going to form the Constitutional Assembly by themselves. Next, a concrete plan was given to Constitutional Assembly. Concrete plan, how elections are going to take place in the Constitutional Assembly. So various other plans were actually given. Next, it also says that free India, that is dominion status India, can actually withdraw from Commonwealth. What do you mean by Commonwealth? Commonwealth means those countries which were ruled by the British. All those colonial countries which are ruled by the British are called as Commonwealth countries. Okay. So, free India, that is the dominion status. Whichever country, that is, if India is given dominion status, later on they can withdraw. They can withdraw from the Commonwealth. That is, they can cut their relationship with Britain. So, these were some of the departures from the past. Next, why did Crips mission fail? Why did the Crips mission fail? So, one is saying the same thing again and again. That is dominion status. August offer also they say dominion status. Lilith Go offer also they say dominion status. Crips offer also they say dominion status. So, Congress says we are not going to accept dominion status. We want complete independence. Complete independence. And second objection is they say princely states. So, in the Constitutional Assembly, they say the Crips mission says princely states representatives were to be nominated. If the Constitutional Assembly is formed, suppose there are 100 seats, 70 seats will be elected from the provinces. 30 seats, suppose let's say 30 seats are princely states. These princely states will nominate their members. Members from princely states won't be elected, they would be nominated. Okay. So, the princes can send anyone they want. Okay. So, the third provision, the third opposition is right to secede. That is, any province which doesn't want to join the Indian Union, they can form a separate nation, separate union. That shows the partition. That shows the partition. That was also opposed by the Congress. So, Muslim League also has certain objections. So, even though separate nation province was there, overall control would be under the British, right? That was opposed by the Muslim League. Okay. So, there were also Hindu Mahasabha. Hindu Mahasabha also criticizes this. Sikh community also criticizes this, saying that this is going to take away Punjab from us. This is going to take away Punjab from us. Okay. So, overall the Crips mission fails because of all these reasons and many other reasons. Okay. So, Gandhiji says the Crips mission as a post-dated check. That is a check which has already failed. He says that the Crips mission is a post-dated check. So, overall the Crips mission fails. Okay. Next, Quit India movement. Bharata Bittu Tolagi Chaluvali. Demand for Pakistan and the NIA. Quit India movement. Demand for Pakistan and the NIA. Okay. So Quit India movement. Gandhi framed a resolution for Quit India movement. Who frames the resolution? It is the Gandhi framed a resolution asking British withdrawal. British withdrawal from India. British are supposed to withdraw from India. Who frames the resolution? Gandhiji frames the resolution. Why start a struggle now? So till then, till 1942, from 1939, Indians were keeping quiet. So, why only in 1942 you want to start a struggle? Okay. So, the reasons are Crips mission had failed. Crips mission had failed. That is one reason. Second reason is there was lot of increase in prices. Prices were increasing, so there was popular discontent. People were actually against the British. People had turned against the British. That is the second reason. News of reverses suffered by the British in Southeast Asia. So in Southeast Asia, Japan defeats the British. That also makes the Indians feel confident that they can overthrow the British. That is also one reason. And the fourth reason, racism, is the one of the reason. Once the British gets defeated in Southeast Asia, your Indonesia, Malaysia, Myanmar, there the British gets defeated. Once they get defeated there, they form actually two roads. Two roads are formed. One is white road, another is black road. So white road, only white people can travel. Black road, Indians and other people. So it showed racism. That is why that also angered the Indians. Okay. Quit India resolution. Quit India resolution. Bharata bittu tolugi chaluvaliya pranalike. Okay. So the Congress Working Committee authorized Gandhi to start the Quit India movement. Whenever you want to start Quit India movement, you start. So this permission was given by the Congress Working Committee to Gandhiji, right? So he framed a resolution. So this resolution was read out in Gavalia Tank, Bombay. So they are going to ask this prelims 2021. They ask this question. Gavalia Tank, Bombay, August 8, 1942. So what is the Quit India resolution? So the resolution says that immediate end to British rule in India. British should leave India immediately. Next, declare commitment for free India to defend itself. That is, India can defend itself against any power. If Japan invades, we are going to defend ourselves. We don't need the British support. Next, sanction of civil disobedience movement. Here, in the non-cooperation movement, what happens? Civil disobedience movement comes at the end. Whereas in the Quit India movement, from the beginning itself, civil disobedience movement starts. Next, here he uses a slogan. A slogan was used by Gandhiji. Bharat Chodo, quit India. So Gandhi's general instructions to different sections, that is various section of population. What did Gandhi instruct? Give instruction. Government servants, Gandhiji told, do not resign. Earlier they used to say in CDM, you resign from government service. Now they say, don't resign, but being in government, you say that you support Congress. Next, soldiers, you also don't resign, but don't fire. When you get an order to fire on Indians, don't fire. Students, you can leave the studies. The fourth, peasants, you don't pay the taxes to zamindars. And princes, Gandhiji says that you support the sovereign rights of your people. That is, you support the rights of your people. Don't oppose your people. Princely state people. So princely state people, people who were ruling, people who were residing in the princely states, for them Gandhiji gives a direction. If your ruler is against British, then support him. If he is for the British, don't support him, oppose him. So here Gandhiji gives a mantra to the public. That mantra is do or die. Okay. Spread of the movement. How did Quit India movement spread? So Gandhiji had from this individual satyagraha. Individual satyagraha used to be happening here by individual satyagraha. Slowly the tempo, that is the movement was building up. Slowly the movement was gathering up by individual satyagraha, right? So Gandhi had carefully planned how to execute the movement. That is why he had started the individual satyagraha. Okay. So, what happens immediately on the launch of Quit India movement, all the leaders, all the Congress leaders were arrested, including Gandhiji. Everybody would be arrested. So the British start repression from the beginning itself. From the beginning itself, they start repression. So once they start the repression, what happens? Extent of mass participation. So here, spread of the movement. What happens is, spread of the movement, people go on rampage because there are no leaders to direct the public, because everybody would be arrested by the British. So there are no leaders. People go on rampage. They create lot of violence. They attack the public buildings. They attack British buildings, police stations, and many other government infrastructure people attack. Railway tracks would be removed. Telegraph lines would be cut. Many other things the Indians do. Underground activity. So people also go on rampage, and also underground activity by certain socialist members, forward block members, and also Gandhian Ashramites. They do underground activity which is not visible to government at the face value. So who were the people involved in underground activity? It is Ram Manohar Lohia, Jai Prakash Narayan, Aruna Asaf Ali, Usha Mehta, Biju Patnaik. These were the people. Here Usha Mehta starts a underground radio. They start a underground radio by Usha Mehta. So this point is important. Here also parallel governments would be set up. Parallel governments. Who set up the parallel? Where all the parallel governments get set up in the during the Quit India movement? In 3 places: Balia, Tamluk, Satara, and Tamluk. These 3 places. Balia, Chittu Pandey sets up the parallel government. That is, parallel government means government which is against the government. That is, government by the people which is against the British government. So first Balia, they set up the parallel government. Tamluk, they set up a parallel government. And also Satara, the parallel government is called Prati Sarkar. Extent of mass participation. So how much people participated? Youth actually remained at the forefront. That is, they carried out the struggle. Next, lot of women participated. So important women: Aruna Asaf Ali, Sucheta Kriplani, Usha Mehta. Workers went on strike. Peasants, the peasant participated. That is your riots right through. They participated on large numbers. So government officials also participated. Even the government officials also participated. So Muslims did not participate. However, so communist people did not join. Why did the communist people did not join? So here they in the wake of Russia being attacked by Nazi Germany. So here what happens? Germany attacks Russia, right? Russia is a communist country. So Russia gets support from UK. So since Russia, communist country, is supported by UK, so communists also support UK because they are supporting Russia. That is why they don't support the Quit India movement, right? And also Muslim League did not participate. Government repression. How did the government oppose the movement? So many people would be killed. Approximately 10,000 people would be killed. So there was lot of violence. Many people, approximately 10,000 people would be killed. There would be lot of violence, right? So and also also what happens? The main storm center, students, workers and peasants participate. So the loyalty to government suffers considerable erosion. That is, the zamindars, whoever were supporting the government, they actually their loyalty actually deteriorates. Next, there will be lot of violence. Violence would be seen. Earlier moment there was no violence. Here violence would be seen. Okay. People display a lot of heroism. Gandhian fast. So since people do carry out violence, what do Gandhi? So the government asks the Gandhiji, say that you condemn the people violence because you are for peace. You please condemn the violence. So Gandhiji doesn't condemn the violence. Instead goes on a fast. He fasts. He goes on a upavasa satyagraha, saying that you cannot force me. So because of Gandhiji fast, there was people morale gets boosted, people's confidence get boosted and the movement strengthens. Okay, here one more thing happens. Famine of 1943. Famine means Baragala. So okay. So what happens? In the Bengal region, there will be famine. So drought, first phase is drought. A heightened form of drought is famine. A heightened form or a extreme form of drought is famine. Okay. So there will be many people, approximately 3 million people, 30 lakh people get killed or they die due to famine, lack of water and food. Oh, so why did this famine happen? Actually, British is responsible for aggravating or increasing the effect of famine because food, whatever food was there, that was diverted to English army, British army who was fighting the war. And since the Southeast Asia was occupied by Japan, whatever the rice that was getting imported from Southeast Asia, that has also stopped, and also there was lot of mismanagement. So this also mismanagement on the part of British, this also caused resentment. Against the British. Rajgopalachari formula. So very important. So your Rajgopalachari formula, he gives a Congress League, Muslim League cooperation formula. This formula was given in 1944. So what is this Congress League cooperation formula? So what will according to the formula, the Muslim League will support the Congress. First stage, Muslim League will support the Congress. So League will in turn Congress will support the League and they form a government. They form a government at the center. That is Muslim League and Congress. They together form a government at the center. So after the once they form the government at the center, British has to give independence. First stage, British has to give independence. Second stage, Muslim League and Congress should form a government. Third stage, once the government is formed, if the Muslims want, they can form a separate country, sovereign state. This was the formula given by Rajgopalachari. However, there was lot of opposition to this formula. So Jinnah opposes this. Jinnah says that we do, and here in this formula there is a fourth point also. There will be a common center for defense finance. Defense and finance would be taken care by a common center. So common center would take care of defense and finance. So here this formula was opposed by Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Next, one more pact takes place. Desai Liaquat Pact. Who is this? Desai. Bhulubhai Desai. Bhulubhai Desai, a nationalist leader, and Liaquat. Liaquat. Who is Liaquat? Pakistan's first Prime Minister, Liaquat Ali Khan. Liaquat Ali Khan. Right? So there is a pact between them. So what is this pact? So here, according to this pact, both equal number of persons would be nominated to Congress and by Congress and League in central legislatures. That is, if the central legislature is there, 100 seats, 50 people would be from Congress, 50 people would be from League. So this is the formula given by Desai Liaquat Ali Khan Pact. So 20% reserved seats, 20% reserved seats for minorities. Wherever people, Muslims are in minority, for them 20% seats should be reserved for them. However, this was also opposed. Here comes Wavell Plan. So this is the plans by Indians and Muslim League. Wavell by British Plan. Very, very, very important Wavell Plan. Okay. So in 1945, World War ends. World War ends and British want to reach a solution. They want to reach a solution. So why the government wants a solution now? So here the Britain would be going for election. Britain would be going for election after the end of Second World War. They want to solve the Indian problem as soon as possible before the election, so that in the election they will get re-elected. Okay. Next, second thing is they wanted India's cooperation in the war. That is the second point. Third point, the government wanted to divert Indian channels into areas where it is more profitable. Okay, what is the plan? The plan was given by Lord Wavell. Lord Wavell is the Viceroy of British. So what is this Lord Wavell plan? So here they are going to talk about a Governor General Executive Committee. I already told what is Governor General Executive Committee. It is just like Council of Ministers. It is about reorganization of Governor General Executive Committee. Okay, so according to this plan, most of the members except the Governor General and Commander in Chief. There will be Governor General and Commander in Chief who is military leader. Apart from these two posts, everybody would be Indians. Next, everybody among the Indians, equal representation for Hindus and Muslims. Then they also this council will act as an interim government, Madhyantara Sarkara. This executive council would act as an interim government, Madhyantara Sarkara. Okay. Next, the governor will exercise his veto on the advice of ministers. I already told what is veto in the polity class. It is a discretionary power. That is, they can make a decision on their own without anybody's suggestion. So that is, if our Indian president has a veto, he doesn't need the suggestion of the Council of Ministers. He can exercise his veto, similar to the veto powers of permanent members of United Nations Security Council. Okay, so veto power was given to. So this veto power of the Governor General would be exercised by advice of Council of Ministers. Earlier, veto power was exercised by the Governor General at his discretion on his own decision. Now it would be exercised based on Council of Ministers. Council of Ministers advice. Okay. So, along with that, so for this executive council, both the Muslim League and Congress should submit a list, joint list or a separate list. This was given in the plan, in the Wavell plan. So what is the Muslim League stand? So Muslim League says all these Muslim members would be sent by Muslim League only. So these are general members. Congress can send, whereas Muslim members would be sent by Muslim League only. So Congress cannot send Muslim members. Okay, that was one of the demand. Okay, next Congress stand. So Congress stand says that here the Wavell plan will make Congress a purely Hindu organization. So Congress was an organization which was secular, which had many communities. So the accepting this plan will make the Congress a purely Hindu organization, or it would be shown as a Brahmin party. Wavell's mistake. What does the Wavell do? So here Congress recommendation would not be accepted by Wavell. So he announces the breakdown of talk and gives the League a veto. So breakdown of talk. Congress opposition was discarded, and he says he will support the Muslim League. He will support the Muslim League. This was the mistake done by Lord Wavell. Next, we will talk about Indian National Army and Subhash Chandra Bose. So he had a militant streak. He always wanted to exercise discipline. He was a man of action. So he supported violence, right? So what is his background? He was a IAS officer. So that time it was Indian Civil Service exam. Subhash Chandra Bose was a IAS officer initially. So he passed the Indian Civil Service exam, but immediately resigns, inspired by the national movement. He would be jailed many times. Okay, so what happens here? He calls for a resistance. He calls for violent resistance against the British. Okay, so because of this call for violent protest, he would be arrested. He would be kept in house arrest. So Bose escapes from his house and reaches Peshawar. He reaches Peshawar. From there, he leaves India and goes to Russia. From Russia, he goes to Germany. He goes and meets the Hitler. So you can Google, there is a picture of Subhash Chandra Bose along with Hitler. He goes and meets the Hitler. Hitler, what does he do? So Indian soldiers. So Germans would have captured Indian soldiers. So how do they capture Indian soldiers? Indian soldiers would be fighting on part of Britain, right? Here, these Indian soldiers would be captured by the Germans. So Hitler gives these Indian soldiers to whom? Subhash Chandra Bose. And Subhash Chandra Bose forms a army. These soldiers, captured Indian soldiers, are called prisoners of war. Prisoners of war. Okay. So he forms a freedom army. He forms a freedom army initially, and this army was called Mukti Sena. First army set up by Subhash Chandra Bose, Freedom Army, Mukti Sena. Okay. Next, from there he starts a radio program from Germany, and he gives the slogan. Today you all call Jai Hind. At the end of the session, I also say Jai Hind. Who gave this slogan? It was given by Subhash Chandra Bose. So Netaji. So who called Subhash Chandra Bose as Netaji? It was the Germany people who called him as Netaji. Origin and first phase of Indian National Army. Origin and first phase of Indian National Army. Okay. So actually, this idea of starting Indian National Army was not a original idea of Subhash Chandra Bose. It was the idea of Mohan Singh. Mohan Singh would be a Indian officer, Indian Army officer. He what does he do after the defeat in Malaya? Malaya means, you already know, Malaya in the Malaysian region, Malaysian peninsula. So he what does he do? He actually, the British would be defeated and they would be coming back to India from Southeast Asia. What does this Mohan Singh do? He is a British officer, British Indian officer. He goes to the Japanese and says that, give me prisoners of war. Prisoners of war, I will build a army. I will build a army. It is actually the original idea of Mohan Singh. Okay, so this Mohan Singh gets 40,000 prisoners of war, 40,000 prisoners of war. Okay, so this INA got a boost because of Indian National, your Quit India movement. So in the Southeast Asia, in the Singapore region, INA would be built, Indian National Army would be built. Here in India, Quit India movement would have started. So because of this INA gets boost and they say to Indians, if you want any help, we have a army support. We will come to your support. Okay, so here actually the Japanese wanted to invade India. There will be some issues and the Mohan Singh will be arrested. Mohan Singh will be arrested because of some issues with the Japanese. So till then, till the arrest of Mohan Singh, it is the first phase of Indian National Army. So next we will talk about the second phase. The second phase begins when Subhash Chandra Bose arrives in Singapore. Subhash Chandra Bose from Germany, he goes to Japan. From Japan, by a submarine, he comes to Singapore. In Singapore, the second phase of Indian National Army starts. The second phase of Indian National Army starts. So here what happens, one more person is important, that is Rash Bihari Bose. Rash Bihari Bose. So if you remember, first phase of revolutionary, after the Swadeshi movement, the revolutionary movement, violence movement which takes place in India, this Rash Bihari Bose is a very important person. So he would have escaped to Japan to avoid British punishment. So what happens there in Japan? He would have built a anti-British force, right? So even this Rash Bihari Bose also comes to Singapore. He starts a Independence for India League. Independence for India League. So this league would be created in 1942, but it also comes to the aid of Indian National Army. So this league was later transferred to Rash Bihari Bose, transfers this league under the control of Subhash Chandra Bose. Subhash Chandra Bose. So Subhash Chandra Bose becomes the Supreme Commander of Indian National Army. So who is the Supreme Commander of Armed Forces today in India? It is the President. President is the Supreme Commander of Armed Forces. Okay. So back then the Indian Army Supreme Commander is Subhash Chandra Bose. Only the Army Supreme Commander would be your Subhash Chandra Bose. Okay. So here he makes a statement, give me blood, I will give you freedom. Okay. So here afterwards, this Indian National Army headquarters would be shifted to Burma. From Singapore, the headquarters would be shifted to Burma, and he gives and there the people start a campaign called Chalodilli Campaign. Chalodilli. There are two Chalodillis here. First is Individual Satyagraha, Delhi Chalo Campaign, and also Indian National Army, Chalodilli Campaign. Chalodilli Campaign. Okay. So, so here in 1943, Japanese give the Andaman and Nicobar Islands to Indian National Army. Andaman and Nicobar comes under the control of Indian National Army. So they name it Shahid and Swaraj Dweep. Shahid Dweep and Swaraj Dweep. Names are important. So what happens? Recently also some islands in Andaman and Nicobar, Prime Minister Narendra Modi renamed, right? So the Havelock Island and many other islands, they renamed. So go and check what islands have been, Neil Island. So all these islands have been renamed. So go and check what islands have been renamed as what. Okay. So here also Subhash Chandra Bose addresses the Mahatma Gandhi ji as father of nation for the second time. Okay. So Azad Hind Fauj. So here what happens? These people, these Azad Hind Fauj, this Indian National Army, also called as Azad Hind Fauj, they cross over to India and they land in Manipur, Moirang in Manipur, Moirang, M-O-I-R-A-N-G, Moirang in Manipur. That place Indian National Army comes. But there, even today, there is a memorial is there. INA memorial is there. Okay. From there, this Indian Army, the British Indian Army sends them back. Okay. So afterwards, Subhash Chandra Bose in 1945, he also dies mysteriously. They say some plane crash, but even today there is a lot of debate. Okay. So this is with respect to the Indian National Army. Next, we will look into post-war national scenario. Post-war, post what war? Post World War II. What was the national scenario? What was the picture on the Indian scene? Two strands in the of national upsurge. Two strands. So the first strand is official negotiations. First strand is official negotiation involving British, Congress, Muslim League. This is the first strand, and the next strand is violence. So the next strand is people's activity. People's activity. So what are the people's activity? Second strand, INA release movement. So Indian National Army prisoners would be taken by the British Indian Army. So their movement in support of Indian National Army people, and also Royal Indian Navy Revolt, RIN Revolt. That one, Tebaga movement, Punjab Kisan Morcha. So all these takes place. That is the second. So unofficial movements. Change in government attitude. So here what happens? 1945, all the Congress people who were arrested, they get released. They were released. Okay. So they find the people actually very energetic. What the Congress would have thought? They thought that Indians would be demoralized. They would be demoralized. However, they would be happy to find that Indians were very energetic even after Second World War. So here what happens? Change in government stand. Why did the government stand change? Government attitude. For one, in 1945, Labour Party formed the government in Britain. So that is one reason. Labour Party is always supportive of Indians. Next, 1945, elections to central and provincial assemblies were announced. 1945, since the last election had taken place in 1937 for provincial assemblies. So here they announced the elections. Okay. So why the government attitude changed? So one, UK was no longer superpower. United Kingdom was no longer a superpower. Who was the superpower? USA and USSR would be the superpowers now. Okay, that is one thing. So second, Labour government was supportive of India. Third, there was a wave of socialist radical movements in Europe. There would be lot of socialist radical movements, radical violent movements in Europe. So that is also a reason for change of government's attitude, because government British would be threatened that their own government will fall to the socialist. That is why they want to change the attitude about the Indians. Next, British soldiers were tired. British soldiers for 7-8 years continuous fighting of war, they were also tired. Because of all these reasons, actually the government's attitude changed. Congress election campaign and the INA trials. So Congress election campaign. So what does the election campaign, or how does the Congress carry out the 1945 election? So here there are two elections, very important. Generally people get confused here. One is the 1945 announced election, that is election for center and provinces. Apart from this, there is one more election, that is the election for Constitutional Assembly. This takes place in 1946, this in 1945. So this you must know, there are two elections. Okay, so election campaign. What is the election campaign? So here the British, the Indians oppose the British in the election manifesto, and they glorify the martyrs. That is, whoever Indians who sacrifice their lives, they would be respected, and also the British government would be, British officials would be openly condemned, saying that once the Congress comes to power, they would be punished. Okay. So this actually, because of these kind of speeches, actually British authority reduces. So if you make a speech against the government, what happens? The authority of the government reduces. Right? Okay. So what happens here? So because of all these reasons, the British wanted to get away from India in a formal way. They did not want any fight, so they wanted to get away from India. So also there was this INA trial. So what is INA trial? So whoever the Indian National Army by Subhash Chandra Bose, all those members would be captured by British Indian Army. They would be put to trial. Trial means they would be made to stand in front of the court, because they had made breach of trust. By deserting the British Indian Army and joining the Indian National Army. So because of that, they would be made to stand in the courts. So because of that, that was also a reason. That was also supported by the Congress manifesto. So Congress supported the Congress election and campaign and INA trials. Congress support for INA prisoners. So Congress support for INA prisoners. Congress supported the INA prisoners. That is Indian National Army prisoners. So even Congress arranges funds for them. The Congress arranges funds for the prisoners, and also they give lawyer support, legal support. Even your Jawaharlal Nehru will fight for the prisoners of war. He goes, because he is a lawyer, he goes and fights for the prisoners. So the INA agitation, a landmark on many counts. Why is it a landmark on many counts? So what happens is, this INA trial, actually it becomes a nationalistic issue. Nationalistic issue. So what do you mean by nationalistic issue? So they will think that this issue is a British versus Indian issue. British versus Indians. INA is a British versus Indian issue. So it becomes a nationalistic issue. Lot of people, public, newspapers, everybody, even politicians, some government officials, even military people started supporting the INA people. So it became a British versus Indian issue. So all over the country, Delhi, Bombay, Calcutta, everywhere people start supporting the INA issue. So even the shopkeepers supported, shopkeepers closed their shops, and Gurudwaras made prayers, and many sections of the people supported the INA trial. Not even the politicians, Muslim League, Communist Party, Unionist, Akalist, Justice Party, whoever the party was there, everybody supported the INA trial, including your Hindu Mahasabha and Rashtriya Swayam Sevak Sangh. Okay, so here why does it become a major issue? Because this issue is treated as a British are deciding Indians' future. British are deciding how to punish Indians. So that is why it becomes a Indians versus British issue. Okay. So 3 upsurges, winter of 1945. These 3 upsurges are very important. So what are these 3 upsurges? One is 1945 in Calcutta over INA trials, Indian National Army trial. Over this Indian National Army trial in Calcutta, there will be first upsurge, second upsurge, again in Calcutta, over the INA trial only, but specific name. One officer would be punished, Rashid Ali, against him. Because of that, the second upsurge will take place. Third upsurge in Bombay, very important, Royal Indian Navy ratings upsurge. Royal Indian Navy ratings upsurge. 3-stage pattern. All these upsurges had 3-stage pattern. So the first stage is when a group defies authority and is repressed. So some groups defies the authority, some groups goes against the British, and they get repressed by the government. So who are the groups which goes against the government? Forward bloc people, Student Federation of India, Islamic college students, they go against the British and they would be lathi charged, and even some people get killed in the firing. Okay, here rebellion by naval ratings. Rebellion, why do the naval ratings? Naval ratings means what? So Navy people, so in the army they are called soldiers. When it comes to Navy, they are called ratings. Okay, in the naval ratings there will be one ship called HMIS Talwar. HMIS Talwar is the ship. In this ship, what happens? The people from the ratings from this ship, they protest. Why do they protest? Racial discrimination between the British and Indians. Second, unpalatable food. Food won't be good. Third, abuse by superior officers. Superior officers abuse the soldiers. That is ratings. Next, INA trials. INA trials, trial of Indian soldiers, also is a reason. Because of which, what do? They hoist the Indian tricolor. They remove the British Union Jack. So British flag, something like this it will be. So this British flag they remove and they hoist a Tiranga on that ship. They hoist a Tiranga on that ship. Okay. So what do? They come out onto the streets. Climb lorries and go around the city threatening Europeans. Second stage, we spoke about the first stage till now. First, what is the second stage? In the second stage, city people join. In the first stage, there will be a group who will protest. In the second stage, to the protesting people, city people will join. City people will join. That is, the normal citizens would join. In the third stage, what happens? People in the other parts of the country, also join the protest. People in the other parts of the country also join the protest. Okay, so this is the three-stage pattern. Which can be seen across all the revolts. Okay, next, evaluation of potential and impact of three upsurges. So, what is the impact of these three upsurges? What impact does it have on the Indian political and popular scene? Fearless action by the masses. Fearless action means the people would be actually fearless. They do not care for the British, right? Next, revolt in armed forces. In the armed forces, there will be a revolt. In the armed forces that acts as a liberating experience. That is, people actually get freed in their mind. Next, so the RIN revolt, Royal Indian Navy Revolt, also seen as a liberating experience. So because of these three things, British give certain concessions. Okay, so political prisoners would be released, and also the INA ratings, prisoners would be released, and also some soldiers would be withdrawn from Southeast Asia. So all this, they also take a decision to send cabinet mission to India. So this is with respect to the British concessions. Next, Congress strategy. So what is the Congress strategy? So Congress says Congress doesn't support these revolts. These three revolts, Congress doesn't support. Even Gandhiji doesn't support. Okay, so Gandhiji says you should take the opinion of Congress before starting the protest, because these protests were by people themselves. Gandhiji says you should take our opinion, not go and do protest on your own. Okay, so this was the strategy of the Congress. Okay, so idya class iga. Okay, so we will end the class here. Tomorrow we will talk about the election results. That is the central and state assembly election results. We will talk about it. Hope you found the class useful. Please make good use of it, and thank you for your patience. Have a good day. Take care of your health. Jai Hind.